Hey everybody, welcome to the Art of Comics. I'm your host, Andre Salazar. Thank you all so very much for spending a little bit of your time with me. We are talking about Chris Ware's latest publication, a collection of some of his older comics, as well as some new material unpublished before, called Rusty Brown. And this is part 2. So if you've not seen part 1, I would say go for it. And if you don't want to, that's cool, man. You ain't got to. This is part 2. It's new material. We're going right back into where we were. This is the second half of the story. So we just finished up talking about the Rusty part and all that, and the story that he wrote as a young man, this kind of science fiction story, and how it was kind of inspired in some way by the jilted lover that he had as a youth. And so now we're moving on to the next chapter. There's 4 different sections of this book, and they do take place in different times. Different characters are the main story. It's their personal story, and they were published at different times too. So Rusty Brown is a collection really of these stories. I didn't know that until I read it. So now we're starting the next one. And this is something really remarkable. This is where we really see Chris's chops with design and graphics and communicating things. So, we talk about comics and kind of Wally Wood and those characters and those people on Toth who are about, creating 3-dimensional objects in space, right? And staging them in space and in the panel. And that is kind of the classic, illustrator's job, right? Is to tell a story with this image. There's a murder, the killer is above, in the shadows, below the bloody, remains in the alleyway, that kind of stuff, right? Illustrations. Chris he can do that, he does that, but he's also breaking down these elements of design, meaning color, form, shape, line, these principles of art, these designs, using those together in a way to tell a story, communicate something. That is what comics are. And so that's what's really neat about art, and that's what really turns me on to comics, is I can, in theory, with some simple shapes, communicate something and evoke an emotion or get some sort of response from the reader. That is the goal, and it's hard to do. But look at what he's doing here, and we're talking about him using these little dots, and there being meaning to this. And this is actually the development. What he's showing here is the development of a human from the most basic elements, kind of embryonic stages, right? I mean, this is really, really cool, man. This is really, really something else. And then now we're going into how the baby is receiving information, how it perceives things. And it perceives mama, right? It sees this with its weak eyes, but it thinks this, right? And there's hands, these big hands, and they do things, right? They have a liquid and they fill him up, and there's words that are saying things, but I don't know what it's saying. And there's day and there's night and sleeping. And there's this other character. Who's this guy, And it's talking about these different, elements of the day or elements that it captures. This is the data. This is really fascinating. This right here. The ability to kind of put this in graphic terms as far as, how a baby, what's the first things this baby's processing? And what does it mean, or those guys? It's really freaking cool, man. It's really freaking cool. And now we're going into the camera, the eye view of the baby, of the crib, right? And this is what the baby sees. The baby sees that. During the nighttime, baby sees this during the daytime. And then the baby starts seeing itself in the mirror, you know? Mama, mama, die, right? It's starting, she's talking. We don't know what it's saying, but there's blocks here saying there's something. And that's Jordan, right? She keeps saying Jordan. It's the baby's name. It's thinking. Jordan, right? It's fascinating. Just the level of thinking about this. And now we learn a little bit more. And we see him poop, right? And he's checking that out. But then when he poops, we got problems. Look at this. The stress that the mother has. And what are you doing? Mama, poo-poo. No, Jordan, no, Jordan. Bad. Poop is bad, And that's his little penis, right? His little pecker. And it's like these things he's learning through the stimulus of these. It's freaking fascinating. And now he's a little bit older. And we see now ants in the grass. And he kills an ant with his finger. He also sees this man hit his mother, right? We see this little swing, and it's the ball. And then we see like objects, right? Dad, mama, yard, ball, house, door, right? As though he's learning these words. And he's hitting. He's talking about mama hitting, slam, bad, right? Dad is bad. Me, you, Jordan, Really fascinating, like a child's perception of these events. This is good stuff. This is like freaking good stuff. Now, and this was collected in Lent, that book Lent. So this is the Jordan Lent story. We're talking about he's learning his colors, his shapes. These are all the things he needs. These are all the colors and things that, he's learning about. Black is bad, He thinks the black. It's just fascinating. He hits this black little boy and everything. He gets a little older. He kills this ant, and he's sad about the ant that dies. And then there's a funeral. It's not super clear what's going on, but there's a funeral, and it's mom. Mom died. We don't know how. We don't know really what the story is, but there's a great perspective shot here of looking up to the adults. And this is great too. This image of all her dresses. And this monochromatic view of everything she's in blue. And now we switch over from a funeral to a wedding. And this is Dad. And this is somebody else. This is a new person. And so Dad's remarried. And now we go back to school. And now we're in school with Joanne Cole. And so there's some don't touch me, go away, you're not my mom. And then we start going into, now he's in adolescence or pre-adolescent time, watching, The Flying Nun. And he's joking about underwear and God and a vagina. And he's like, that's now the magic thing that he's interested in. The different thing. Yeah, it's really fascinating, this look of his life. This is probably, I don't know, I can't say it's my favorite because the one after this is really good too. But he's talking about, as a kid, it really goes through the development stages of a child. And what does he want? He wishes for this bicycle and he wants this. And what does it have on the bike? And these great little, icons. It's got a handlebar. It's got the bell. It's got this. It's got that. And what he really wants is mom. He wants his mama who's dead, I am Jason. This is actually Jason. So Jason's not the same as Jordan. So Jason is Jordan's father. So this is Jordan's father story. So through a lot of the stories, Rusty Brown, we go through the father. We go to Woody to learn about Rusty. To learn about Jordan, we learn about Jason, the father. Again, it's that the sins of the father come to the child. It's that cyclical nature of humanity that we somehow inherit, perhaps, these issues, or that we are informed of our personality by the things that our parents struggled with, perhaps. That somehow gets in the DNA. This is just great imagery. Now he's a boy. And even this here with the erection, we kind of get this really sense of this is what it's like, as a young boy, and, looking at girls and such. And this is him just angry at the world, and dealing with that. And he wants to be a rock star. And this image really surprised me because I haven't seen Chris Ware do something like this that's so stylized, and it reminds me of some of those movie posters, like or that artist that did like the Yellow Submarine, some of those rock band kind of cartoons and images from the 60s. This is really cool. I really dig this. And of course the coloring is great. I mean, Chris is just making this super freaking cool. So we learn about that. See, and then we go back to Jordan. So Jordan. Now we're back to Jordan. So Jordan is, in this time, in our time, we'll say it. This is where he's talking about girls, and he's thinking about breasts, right? And the different types of breasts that a girl would have. And, he's this horny teenager, and so that's preoccupying himself. There's a crash. We don't really know what happens. We just know that the Trans Am crashed, right? Trans Am's crashed. He's worried his dad's going to kill him. And we learn from the stepmother who has loved him and tried to bring him to her bosom, so to speak, and share with him. But check this out. Look at this image of the mother kind of shadowed in the back. She'll never be his mom. That's the tricky part. Now we're going back to the dad, and the dad was a member of this fraternity. So the dad's a member of this fraternity. There's some kind of like a ritual here, which is pretty actually well done, which looks like it's pretty much accurate to some of those Greek fraternity things. And so we're just with the father, learning about what the father was up to. He wants to be this rock and roll guy. He's in a fraternity. He gets, because of the fraternity, kind of opens some doors for him to begin his kind of career. And while he's doing that, of course, he's trying to make music and be a musician. Again, look at the panels. This is just really great stuff. And he's really going small on some of this stuff. Really going really small on some of these panels, and all the things that he's thinking about, right? He's always thinking about this girl, and ruining his relationships with women because of that. And this panel is a great one because the girlfriend leaves, he's preparing this, and then, more issues. Again, this story is so good. Now we're with this other girl that he's with and he cares about. She gives birth. They have a baby now. And now he's kind of like, he's a dad. And he's trying to figure out how to balance that. I'm a dad. I have responsibilities, but yet I'm still trying to, make my dream and not feel tied down to these things. And there's these religious iconography too, and kind of religious elements. That's interesting. Now we're back with Jordan. It's really kind of tricky because they do go back and forth. So now we're at Jordan. And he's here with his kid. And Jordan, plays the guitar for the church and is kind of settled down. But then he leaves his wife for this girl at the church and sees that. This is fascinating because he sees the girl who touches his arm, sees the tattoo on the ankle, realizes that she's probably kind of had a different lifestyle perhaps, and now there's these images of her, right? And that he's just like thinking about that, and that's going to become an issue. And so that ends it, right? And so she finds out, and now we just jump. Now, who knows how long it's been, but now he's with her now. He's with this other gal. And what that's going to be like. And he's now middle-aged, and he's trying to lose the weight that he's gained, and he's trying to maybe relive some of the things he wants to, and he's still the same guy. But he's got money. He's being successful. He's kind of like a stock trader or some sort of a day trader or somebody in the financial market. They don't really go into too much. But he makes a killing in certain these times. But he loses his soul in a way, and he loses his family. And then he meets another girl. And so now he meets, was she a secretary? She was somebody. Yeah, she was somebody that at work, I think it was. And so, who's a lot younger, right? And he winds up having a family with her, another family. So he just goes through these bad relationships or situations. And now we just see his life as he gets older, and he's estranged from his other kids from the first marriage. And now one of the kids this is great too, by the way. He has a beautiful image of Outlook from a Windows 95 or something. This is brilliant. I love this. His son is in Iraq, and he talks to him, and he's trying to connect with him again. He has a daughter now from the third gal. And so he's got this family for the younger girl, and they've got kids, and he's got these adult kids from the first wife, and he's losing money, and it turns out he embezzled some money, or he's involved in something shady, and so he's going to owe a lot of stuff. And he's getting a physical, and he's worried about, he's coughing, and he's sick, and he's worried about something's going on physically. It's just sad. It's just this thing where it really is a great idea of showing the inner dialogue of a person throughout their life, and it's brilliant. I mean, look at each of these pages. Each of these pages is composed in such a really nice way. Each of these is like really nice. And now we see the other kids, the youngest kids are now becoming teenagers and growing up and going to college. And he still thinks about the first wife at times. And he sees this article from the youngest, from Gabe, who was the youngest boy of his first marriage or first relationship. And he talks about how he broke his shoulder. And then we flip into these images of either this is what the actual book is, or it's just these images of what Gabe is talking about through this. And it turns out that Jordan broke the shoulder blade of the boy, and that caused the big problem. And this is a beautiful page here. Where's Mama, Papa? And now Mama's gone. Mama read the book too. Well, guess what? When Mama read the book, the latest mom, She's gout. She's bounced. So now she's gone. She's like, how could you do that? You're a monster. I can't believe everything he read was true. So now he's alone. He's all alone. He's by himself. And he's getting some MRIs done. He's got some sort of health condition, and he just wants to be with his son again. He just wants to be with his family, and he feels like it's too late, and he lost everything, and he keeps going back to these memories of these other women in his life who he loved, and he didn't know what to do, and that's how it ends. And it's pretty intense, and probably one of the most intense things to read in like 50 pages or whatever of like someone's entire life. And that was pretty powerful. It's just really freaking well done. Okay, the last story we're going to do here is another brilliant story of Joanne Cole. We keep seeing Joanne Cole going through these microfiche, and we don't know why, but she keeps going through them on her spare time as a teacher. She's a teacher. Her younger sister is a teacher, but kind of like didn't really take care of family because Joanne's stuck with her mom who's sick. Joanne is like highly regarded teacher, the best third grade teacher ever, but her school system doesn't, her principal doesn't really appreciate her as much as she should be, perhaps. She's also, lower middle class, and all these kids are freaking rich kids. She plays the banjo, and she's like into the banjo, and she's like practicing that. And there's this librarian George that's sweet on her, but she's just not picking it up, And then here's Woody. This is Woody Brown, and he's a bit of ass, as we expect. And here's the Lentz trying to help out their kid Jordan, who's an ass, and keeping him in school. And so they wind up doing her a solid. She doesn't have kids. She's not married. We don't quite get what's going on yet. We go into the banjo. She's playing that. Look at these are just beautiful panels. Really well done. All this stuff. The colors too is great. Her going to church. She's a good church going gal. She's never picking up what George is putting down. She's trying to help the, church with her music if possible. She does she wants a party at her house, invites the teachers. No one shows up except for Chris, where he shows up for a few moments. A lot of this is about this microfiche and getting these like little records. We'll find out what that's about in a minute. This was touching because it's her. It's taking care of her mom. She's lonely. She's always felt she as a good student, but never having confidence, never having someone special in your life. And as a black woman in this time, even in Omaha, Nebraska, the racism that she sees, and we have these flashbacks as a kid, and the racism that she goes through walking on the other side of the street, or not talking to certain people, or being a maid, or her mother was a maid, and all those kind of elements that's part of her DNA now. And so here's the first tipper, Nebraska Adoption Registry. So we learn a little bit about something. She's looking up adoptions. What's that all about? Well, we find out here towards the end that she's looking for adoptions because she had a child. That's the big reveal. She had a child, and that child was taken away, and she never knew if it was a boy or a girl or anything, and this is her daughter. who shows up. And I was like emotional. This was so good. And she says, I think I might be your daughter. And she's shaking, and she just can't believe it. And she's been searching her whole life as a teenager to find this woman, to find her daughter. And she couldn't. She never could find. She didn't know if it was a boy or girl. She didn't know what to do. But the daughter found her. And it was touching. It's sad. And that's how it ends. And it's just like, here I am. And there we go. And that's the story. It was this intermission, which I'm intrigued about what that's kind of going to mean. But I found this to be thoroughly entertaining is not even the word. Just so good. It is something I would recommend others to read. I think, I give people Jimmy Corrigan a lot. I think I would change it. I would give them this. I would give them Rusty over Jimmy Corrigan because I think that the separate stories are good. I think that there's just more in here from a storytelling perspective, and the design and everything is just top freaking notch. So I can't say enough about Chris Ware. I'm just in love with his stuff. I think it's great. I want to thank you guys for listening to both of these parts. There's more videos coming. Appreciate you guys. Click that subscribe button. Let's get some more people and let me know what you want me to talk about next, and I'll do it. Thanks, guys. Bye.